About a month ago, Joe from Breaks and Makes, former 3D Maker noob, published a video about a massive CNC named Workbee. It is really huge for a kit, having in mind that this is addressed to enthusiastic home users. Of course, there are most probably no constraints to use it as an industrial machine. Anyway, after seeing the video, I was thinking to myself, why can't I have one of those? And I began to ask myself, do I want one? Of course I want one. Do I need one? What kind of question is that? You don't know you need something until you have it. Do I afford one? Well, most probably not right now. Do I have the space to deploy it? Most definitely not. So I bought the next best thing. Okay, maybe it's not even close to the next best thing, but it scratches wood. Continue to watch to see what it is all about. My name is Edward, and I tinker with things. So I bought a cheap Chinese kit of a mini CNC router / carving machine that doesn't even have a name. All those clones of something have a generic name of 3018. The parts were quite well packaged. The only negative things about the packaging was the fact that they literally thrown the plug adapter in the box and the fact that the box had no up-down markings, and as you can see, I opened it upside down. Regarding the quality of the components, I was really impressed by the spindle / Z-axis assembly, which is made of injection molded plastic, a good one it seems, and not 3D printed. Also, at least on my unit, there is a proper chuck for the drill bits and not just a cylinder with 2 screws at the ends. Very nice. Okay, let's get to work. When I removed the protection plastic sheet from the aluminum profiles, I noticed that a lot of aluminum chips, most probably made when the profiles were cut, were stuck to this protection sheet and on the profiles. That I did not like at all. It's just like the profiles were wrapped in the protection right on the cutting table. I mean, they did a great job on protecting the profiles, but come on. They could have used some compressed air to clean the profiles before wrapping them. And those chips are also dangerous. When unwrapping the protection, those can pierce your fingers or even worse, enter your eyes. I didn't like it. After I took the manual, which proved to be an not optimal source of information, I started to assemble the frames. I assembled first the horizontal frame. The manual talks about some spacers, which I believe they were referring to some washers from seeing the pictures. Anyway, there were no washers in the package, but there were some screws with a quite big diameter head, so I used those without washers. I believe that is most common in those cheap kits to get what you get. Actually what they have access to when the kit is packed and not necessarily what is written in the manual. But in the end they put something there with which I could complete the build, and that's what it matters. I assembled then the vertical frame. Yet another thing that I didn't like too much, but it's cheap. Time is money and all of those. What I didn't like is that all the screws, nuts and stuff were mixed in 2 or 3 plastic bags. I would have liked that every type of screw, nut, whatever to be in their separate bags, but yeah, I also would like to have a Lamborghini. What I want and what I get, it's in most of the cases different things. Then I had to stop when it was to mount the bigger plastic angle supports, because the screws that they say should be used were not fitting. The screw head was too big. After some head scratching and checking the bags, I noticed that there are 2 types of M5 10mm screws. One with a larger diameter head, one with a smaller diameter head. This last one was fitting the holes in the plastic pieces. Most probably this was the screw for which the manual said I had to use washers. Again, no showstopper, but it made my heart go faster for a couple of minutes. On some page, the manual refers to the length of the horizontal frame profile front and bottom, basically the width of the frame, as being 300 millimeters, when on the other pages and in reality it is 360 millimeters. But I had enough information in order to figure out what is to be done next. I had to mount the supports for the smooth rods on the horizontal frame. So I measured, marked, then mark the supports to know where is their midline. And then tried to mount the support as precise as I could. After that, I did the same for the supports that I mounted on the vertical frame. Then I assembled the bed and mounted the linear bearings by just eyeing the position and not tight the screws too much. Because after that I had to mount the smooth rods and readjust the whole thing, I must say, several times. Readjusting the position of the linear bearings on the bed and the supports on the frame was done by unscrewing almost everything, then screwing one by one each element little by little while I slide the bed by hand from one end to the other, just to make sure nothing is binding. In the end, after a longer than I would have hoped time, I obtained a smooth sliding motion for the bed. So it was time to mount the Y-axis stepper motor. Then I did the same for the spindle assembly. After that, I mounted the lead screw, nut and end support for the lead screw from the vertical frame, namely X-axis. Then jumped to do the same thing for the bed. I noticed, and was not a surprise for me, that the nut support was not really centered with the stepper motor shaft, and I tried to correct that. Then I coupled the lead screw with the stepper shaft and mounted the end support for the lead screw. Needless to say that readjusting the thing was necessary to be done again after that. In my opinion, this was by far the hardest part of the build. Then I mounted the last piece of the puzzle from mechanical point of view, and that was the acrylic sheet that is the support for the main board. And this concludes the first part of the video. The next part will cover the electronics and software part, and the first few failures and success. See you next time!